We're going to slay here on TexAgs Rewind presented by Yeti. Kennedy Kevin told me to use that term, so I used it, and here we are.
You probably should.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Nick. Hey, Nick, I understand that your OnlyFans account is now live. You got your ring light, so good. Congratulations.
Yeah, we look good back here. It's not in the dungeon like you were saying, but yeah, the OF will be popping here soon.
It's actually it looks really good there. I mean, other than you looking blue. Other than that, it's very
Dalton just
bright.
told me he wants to contribute on the OnlyFans.
Well,
take that take that how you will.
I actually thought he was already
a collab. Sorry,
a collaborate. Okay,
me.
see, now this is going off the rails, and I'm about to vomit. But we had Olin Buchanan on the show, speaking of OnlyFans, and that was good. We talked about a lot of things in the opening hour of the program. Billy Liucci, the Ags got another commit. It's like Oprah, you get a commit, and A&M keeps it going. That's my go-to line when
Actually, it's not like Oprah because A&M gets all the commits, and no one else gets any. I like it that way.
I don't think we get every single commit.
Well, yeah,
there's only so many.
There's a lot of high school football players.
Recruiting country, Ryan Brauninger, he continued on that thread. And we talked to John Brice about Notre Dame. So Aggies are obviously going to be playing Notre Dame the next couple of years, but this year Notre Dame thinks they're a playoff contender. Do you? Let me hear from you in the comments. My voice got excited there. It's TexAgs Rewind. All right, OB, so the topic of choice right now, one-score games, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading an article this morning, believe it or not, and I think you will believe it, about one-score games, and it's where J.D. Pickle, who works for On3, was talking about LSU last season, that they were so close to be, and it's a similar theme here, to winning 7 games last year because they were 3-1 in one-score games. A positive stat, but that's not reliable to go every year with. And they were very successful in that. Alabama, by the way, also one-score games. So I'm going to give you some of these records last year, okay? First off, do you remember A&M's record in one-score games?
In one-score games, A&M's record was probably 1-5. 2-5. Because we beat Arkansas and Miami. 2-5.
2-5. Okay. Easily, the 5 games that they lost, one play or two changes that whole. I mean, that's hence the one-score game. Alabama was involved in 5 of them,
and they lost 2.
They were 3-2.
3-2.
Yeah, you're good at this game. I like.
Well, they lost to Tennessee and LSU.
LSU, correct.
On the last play, I think.
And then you've got. I already told you LSU's record, but they were 3-1.
3-1.
One of those being against Alabama.
Alabama.
Right.
I'm trying to remember who.
Florida State, they lost.
Florida State, they lost one. And who's the other one?
Let me give you another one. Another one to consider, which A&M was involved in, unfortunately. Ole Miss. They were 3-2 in one-score games.
And had they didn't have a great year, but they had a
great start.
A great start.
Against nobody.
Year. Right.
And then they played real bodies, and they lost. So I guess what I'm taking from this is the fact that we started on this show talking about if you score one more touchdown a game, you're 10-2, and that is still the case. What have you seen of Gabriel Relaford?
I think he's sorry, Nunez, I'm sitting down.
You're good.
Relaford came to camp and really impressed. Really impressed. He's 6'2.5", 255. I think over 255. I think his wingspan was something in the 81, 82 inch department, which that's a tremendous amount of length for someone that's 6'2.5", or a shade under 6'3". And just I think what really caught their attention was his flexibility. That's something we don't talk about a lot. We joke about it on TexAgs, like ankle flexibility or whatever, but it's really, it matters, like your knees and your hips and how flexible these defensive linemen are. And he was, from what I was told, pretty unusually flexible from what we saw out there. He looked more like agility-wise like a linebacker, but he's 256. The comparison that I've made that he could ultimately be like a Justin Madubuike, and I say I've made it. Somebody told me that I trust more than myself. But with the ability to grow, he could easily play. He's going to come in if he's 256, and he's probably going to come in that 265 range, which is Madubuike was along that same track. So was even a guy like Albert Regis. If he ends up really growing, But I think he keeps it a little smaller than that, and I think he stays in where he's got a chance to be a really twitchy, really long and twitchy and agile guy that can swing between end and the inside if he grows into that. But he's an end right now, just like Justin was. He's an end all the way right now, which is, I think he's always going to play like that.
So 2 key additions on the offensive line, and then a really versatile defensive line player. And we've talked at length kind of about all of them so far. I know you had Billy on the show to talk about Weston Davis, but more so than that, everybody, it's like this every cycle. If A&M doesn't have a certain amount of recruits, by the time June hits, people start going, what's going on?
Yep.
What's happening? Where's the problem? How are they ever going to fix it? And then by the end of the summer, like, okay, this recruiting's in a pretty good spot. And I'd have to go back and kind of look at how last cycle fell. It's again, some of this stuff, keeping up with the dates and when stuff happened, it's really hard to think about even a year later, to think about the 2023 class and where A&M was at this point last year. But if they finish the summer with the way they can finish the summer, it's going to be hard for me to believe that they're not miles ahead of where they were a year ago in the 2023 class. So they've done a fantastic job since camp started, and then state 7-on-7, having guys come into town and utilizing that to get kids on campus. The recruiting machine is back online and back going very much so. And we feel really good about some upcoming decisions that have been announced. I feel outstanding about where A&M is for Draylon Miller. USC is still doing all they can, and so is LSU. They're still doing all they can to try to wedge their way in before the decision. Jalen Hornsby has come down to A&M and Penn State and felt good about where A&M's at with that one. That's going to go down on July 1st. A&M has made a ton of inroads with Ty Anthony Smith, with Terry Bussey. We think that they're in a better spot than a lot of people believe with Kobe Black out of Waco Connolly. So we're getting to the point where they're taking some guys that they have evaled, and it wasn't an all-out knockdown, drag-out fight for the traditional recruiting against the traditional recruiting rivals in the area. But I would say that those are coming up.
Is there a different vibe, different feeling around it? Obviously, a new quarterback changes things too, but just the way he's running his business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, David. I think it's very pertinent. A little bit of staff turnover on the offensive side of the ball. I would say that this is more fully and completely Marcus Freeman's staff. It was sort of an awkward, almost an arranged marriage last year when Marcus was hired as head coach and Tommy Rees was retained after Brian Kelly had tried to hire Tommy down at LSU. But now it's Jared Parker at the offensive controls. They brought in Gino Gaduli to coach quarterbacks. They got a new offensive line coach there, hired him away from Virginia Tech. He's got a lot of past history at Wisconsin as well. And so, and Joe Rudolph. So, yeah, I think that there is absolutely more of a vibe. There's more cohesion. That's the thing. I was with some people from the program just last week, and they were telling me there's just absolutely a different vibe, just more, I think, unity and cohesion around the Notre Dame program this year.
Talking to John Brice here on TexAgs Radio. All right, so Sam Hartman, 6th year. I didn't realize it was that long, but he has been in college forever. So, and he's going to be there for a year. So that's, to me, that feels like college football playoffs or bust is the thinking, right?
Absolutely. And I fully believe that. Something's wrong if Notre Dame doesn't go into its November 4 matchup with Clemson and have playoffs completely on the line. And that's a road game at Clemson after Notre Dame just absolutely eviscerated the Tigers in South Bend last year. But 100%. And it's not just because of Sam Hartman, but Sam Hartman is a huge part of it. And I would contend Sam Hartman is the most accomplished pure quarterback to wear a Notre Dame uniform since Brady Quinn. Way back, I guess, 15 or so years ago, 16 years ago. So, but again, they also have 2 future NFL first rounders at tackle in Joe Alt and Blake Fisher. And I think both of those guys have a great chance to be top 20 picks next year in the 24 NFL draft.
All right, let's go to the only fan himself, Nick Savage. Tell him what to do.
Your only fan. Like, comment, subscribe. Watch our YouTube videos. We're getting more active. There's Kennedy Cabin. She's slaying. And watch the shorts on our YouTube page. Follow us on Twitter, all that good stuff.
So did you just say you're my only fan?
Yeah.
So you don't think my mom, who watches daily, is a fan?
Does she watch the rewinds?
Probably not. I don't think she knows how to use YouTube.
Then I'm pretty much the only one that watches them every day.
No, we got 2,000 views on something.
We
yesterday.
did. They're doing pretty good. So keep it up, y'all. We appreciate it.
Appreciate the people. Appreciate the people who are actually writing some of the garb to make it work, make it pop. We'll see you next time.